How you doing? I'm Callan and this is SPOOKED. Today we're talking about abandoned buildings. From a creepy robed figure seen staring from an upstairs window to an abandoned laboratory filled with sinister science experiments. We count 10 of the creepiest things discovered inside abandoned buildings. And before we get into it, remember to hit that subscribe button for more awesome creepy content just like this.
In 2008, two friends captured this unsettling video while exploring an abandoned house in an unknown location. The house itself is old and believed by many to be haunted, but what these two see inside is far worse than any ghost. As one of the explorers opens the front door, some sort of creature rushes towards them from out of the darkness. The creature, which appears to move on all fours, almost looks as though it was waiting for the boys to enter the mansion. The pair run for their lives as the beast lunges towards them. While the creature appears to be human, it moves more like an animal. It lets out a ferocious squeal similar to a wild pig as it rushes forward. What could this bizarre creature actually be? Is it a human or is it some sort of animal? In the comments section below, let us know what you think it was that chased these boys from the abandoned house. In 2009, Reddit user Never Enough Muppets claimed to have discovered something very creepy in an abandoned mansion, not far from where he lived in Suffolk County, Long Island. The house was badly neglected and looked as though it was furnished in the 1960s or 70s. In one room he found a pile of mail dated around August 1995, leading him to believe that this was probably when the owners had left. He entered another room. This one was full of children's toys, but not old or broken toys. These ones looked new, as though someone had played with them recently. He continued to the kitchen where he found some empty bean cans which looked as though they had just been opened. He made his way up the stairs to the second level. The floor was so warped that he had to be careful where he stood. Inside a bedroom at the end of the hall, he found hundreds of birthday cards, all wishing someone named Eric a happy birthday. Each card looked as though it had been written by the same person. He decided to climb the stairs to the third floor, this one even more decrepit than the last. Suddenly, he heard a sound coming from a nearby bedroom. It sounded like a slapping sound followed by dragging. He froze just as a very dirty pair of hands appeared from the doorway. A man began to drag himself into the hall, making a guttural moaning sound as he pulled himself closer. The Reddit user ran down the stairs as fast as he could, turning to see if he was being followed. He made his way out of the window he used to enter the house and escape to safety. He never returned to the abandoned house ever again. This photo is said to have been taken in the basement of an abandoned hospital somewhere in the United States. It shows a bathtub full of human brains floating in some sort of brown liquid. The photo caused quite a stir when it surfaced online, with many believing it had to be fake. The police were reportedly notified shortly after the gruesome discovery was made. Because the bathtub full of brains was found in an old abandoned hospital, the grotesque discovery was simply put down to a very poor storage solution, and no criminal charges were ever laid. In 2006, it was reported that a bizarre laboratory was discovered underneath an abandoned orphanage in London. It was said to contain the remains of hundreds of creatures, many of which were considered to be mythological. The specimens are now supposedly housed in the Maryland Cryptid Museum, and according to their website, the collection includes taxidermied dragons, the infant forms of werewolves, and artifacts from ancient vampire nations. The collection was reported to have belonged to Thomas Theodore Merlin, an 18th century cryptozoologist who spent his entire life collecting the remains of bizarre and unusual creatures from around the world. The current curator of the museum, an artist by the name of Alex C.F., is said to have inherited the bizarre collection. Many skeptics have dismissed the story as the museum is not actually open to the public. Some believe that the specimens seen on the website are nothing more than very detailed works of art created by the artist himself. While the truth about the collection may never be known, even the idea that a mysterious collection of cryptids was unearthed from beneath an abandoned London orphanage is unsettling to say the least. It's enough to make anyone lay awake at night wondering what strange things might actually be buried in their own basement. When a group of explorers entered an old abandoned petting zoo, they discovered something very unsettling. One of the barns was full of completely naked dolls. While it's unclear exactly where this strange discovery was made, it certainly doesn't detract from the creepiness. Why was an abandoned petting zoo storing naked dolls? Was the previous owner collecting them, or were they being stored for some other reason? What do you think the owner was up to? In 2014, a police officer known only as Ted posted this disturbing video. He claimed to have heard some strange noises coming from a neighbouring house after responding to a disturbance in Delray, Detroit, and decided to investigate. As the officer approaches the abandoned house, he pans the camera across an old newspaper clipping, then calls out to see if anyone's inside the building. Suddenly, a ghastly face appears in the upstairs window before disappearing into the darkness. The video reveals that the article seen by the police officer was actually about a woman named Rose Verez, who was known as the Witch of Delray. It was thought that Verez may have murdered as many as 12 men in the 1930s, but that her neighbours were too scared to testify against her, believing that she had supernatural powers that could make their children sick. Did this officer actually catch a glimpse of the infamous Delray Witch? Was it a creepy coincidence that the article was there on the ground, or did the man plan it in order to create an elaborate hoax? Let us know what you think in the comments section below. This video from YouTuber Double Bins is believed by many to show a ghost wandering in the attic of an abandoned house. The footage starts as a group of boys are walking across a field towards an old, dilapidated house. They enter and begin to explore the ground floor, which appears to be very heavily vandalized. As the camera pans towards the roof, a strange dark figure can be seen walking past an opening that leads to the attic. The camera holder yells to the other boys and the group immediately run from the house. While the video footage is poor and it's difficult to make out the figure in any great detail, it does leave you wondering what it could actually be. Is it a ghost, or could it be a person that's living in the attic of this old abandoned building? What do you think the dark figure seen in this video actually is? Built in 1923, the West Park Hospital was a psychiatric facility located in Surrey, England. It was one of 5 psychiatric hospitals built in the area known as the Epsom Cluster. The hospital eventually became run down, and by 2003 most of the buildings were closed and the site was abandoned. In 2010, several buildings were demolished, with only a few left to be later converted into apartments as part of a new housing complex. Before it was destroyed, the hospital was a popular site for urban explorers. Many of the rooms remained relatively intact, including many of the patients' quarters and even an old padded cell. This photo was taken by an urban explorer in the attic of the hospital. Someone has taken all of the fire extinguishers from the facility and arranged them in the shape of a giant pentagram on the floor. Could this have been part of some sort of sinister ritual, or was it just some kids playing a prank? Either way, it makes for a very creepy and unsettling photo. Reddit user Pacotes claimed to have had a terrifying experience while exploring an abandoned missile silo in Colorado. One day, he was part of a group giving some girls a tour of the facility. As they made their way into one of the main rooms, they found that a hatch door that led to one of the tunnels had been broken off and was lying on the ground. When they looked closer, they noticed that the hatch door had a pool of blood on it. The blood was not stale or dry, however, it was fresh, as though someone or something had just injured itself ripping the hatch from its hinges very recently. The blood formed a trail and they decided to follow it. They soon realised that whatever was bleeding was not heading back to the surface, but deeper and deeper into the maze-like complex. The trail led the group into one of the adjoining silos. They followed the trail to a railed ledge that overlooked a drop of at least 50 feet into the darkness below. Blood was covering the platform next to the drop, and it looked as though the thing that was bleeding had leapt from the ledge. The group no longer thought they were following the trail of an injured human who might need their help, and decided it was wiser to head back to the surface. They never discovered what it was they were following, or if it ever made it out of the silo alive. Before we get to that number 1 spot and take a look at some truly unsettling footage filmed inside an abandoned house in New York, remember to hit that subscribe button and turn on channel notifications. That way you'll be up to date with all the latest creepy content on our channel. In 2013, YouTuber Alien6467 captured this footage at an abandoned house in Southwood, New York. While driving along a deserted stretch of road, the group spots the derelict house and decides to investigate. The inside of the house is empty and there is graffiti covering the walls. As the group make their way into one of the larger rooms, the word vengeance can be seen written above the fireplace. The group take a closer look and notice that the wall is covered with plastic bags, each containing a single coin. One of the members searches a hole in the floor and finds even more bags. Again, each one contains a single coin. As the group leaves the house, the camera holder focuses on the upstairs window, where they notice something moving inside. As the camera zooms in, you can clearly see a robed figure staring ominously out of the window. The video then ends abruptly as the group quickly leave the property. Who or what was the sinister figure seen peering from the window? Was it a ghost, or could it have been a member of some sort of dark cult? Could it be possible that the group interrupted some sort of bizarre ritual taking place? Whatever it was, the figure was probably inside the house the whole time the group was filming.
Well, that's it for another episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you're enjoying our channel, slap that upward facing thumb. If you want to watch some more, there's an embedded link there, or there's some links to some playlists in the description box below. And that's it for me. I'll see you all next time.